Hi everyone, I'm Jay Stevens from www.iwannarock.ca. Today, quick easy lesson on the Keith Richards style open G tuning and some of the chords he uses. I'm going to blow through this really quick. I'm not going to hit any specific songs, but just some of the chord shapes he uses in it, and from there you can figure out stuff really easy. First of all, open G tuning. I've got my old Dan Electro here strung up 5-string open G tuning. So basically throw away the top string. The tuning is G, D, G, B, D. That's G on the top, a D, another G, B, and D. And what that gives us is an open G major chord. So major chords can be formed across the neck, one finger. If I'm looking for a 1-4-5 pattern for most blues songs, or most songs in general, open, 5th fret, 7th fret, right? Open G, of course, used by Keith Richards on almost everything nowadays, but also favored by Jimmy Page uses open G, as well as George Thorogood uses, that sort of thing. George Thorogood mainly the one finger style with a slide. So hitting on the Keith Richards type chords, of course we've got, that would be one of them. The one finger across all the strings. The other one you need to know for this is that rhythm of, that old rock and roll rhythm. In open G tuning, if I play this at the 5th fret, I'll zoom a bit closer so you can see it. I'm playing the top 2 strings, even the top 3 if I want, and then the next string down, which is our D string, 2 frets up, just like a power chord shape basically. That's your standard rock and roll pattern. Normally, like in the open shape, it would be 2 and 4, in normal tuning, but in the barred form. So that's a really important riff, because that's most of your rhythm is going to be that. That sort of stuff. So that's chord shape number 1 is the one finger. The next one would be adding that to it to give us our rock and roll patterns. So he uses that sort of rhythm, as well as lots of players use that rhythm, that sort of thing. That old standard, So the next chord you need to know is adding this note to it, our B string. So again, I'm going to bar across all the strings, and of course you could do it open if you wanted, but I'm here at the 5th fret, and then I'm going to add the 6th fret on the B string. Hope you can see that. So I've got one finger and then this one. So you can use that. It's basically a sus chord you're making out of that. So sometimes he'll noodle around with that, or Keith Richards I'm talking about, adding that B string to it. And then sometimes he can add the G string 2 frets up from our bar. So if I'm barred across the 5th, G string here, which are the 3rd string up, 2 frets up, but the 7th. Another good sus. Seems like Keith Richards really fell in love with all these sus chord shapes. So like that sort of shape, you can do like. The last chord I just ended on is the another sus chord. It's actually an add 9 chord. So you bar across, and we're basically going to combine the extra notes that we added. We added that 2nd string 1 fret higher than your bar, and the note that we added earlier on our D string from that rhythm. So 2 frets up on the D string from your bar, 1 fret up on the B string from your bar, and you've got that chord shape. So notice there's a string separating the two. I've got D string, skip a string, B string. And the best practice you can do with this is just doing that. Getting used to hitting both those strings and not the ones that are right next to each other, but skipping that string in the middle. right away, even just strumming that, you can start to hear that Keith Richards type stuff. So the speaking of the brown sugar riff, that little bridge riff or whatever you want to call it, that second part, is one of those that I talked about just a little bit earlier, noodling around with adding the third string in. A lot of people play it like the same old 3-finger chord that I was talking about, but Keith Richards plays that brown sugar riff, adding third string G 2 frets up from the bar, and then the 5th fret adding the 2-finger, adding the 2 fingers to it on the D string and the B. So it's on the same. So just that shape, add those 2 fingers, skipping that string in the middle. Hopefully you can get a good shot of that there. Or adding just this one, or just this one, or just this one. That's basically the main shapes. What's that, 4 shapes? You got 1, add that, add that, add that, or that. Some combination of those. And you can play pretty much any Stone songs. I've noticed even Stone songs that weren't written in open G, I've seen live footage that Keith is playing them in open G now, like case in point, that Can't Always Get What You Want. That sort of thing. So give it a shot. The best thing you can do is just start moving around, but like I said, the practice you need is doing that. I'm just goofing around and the Stone songs start to pop out. So give that a shot, those couple fingers. And move the bar around. So remember, you're in open G, once again is G at the top, then a D, G, B, D. If you're using a 6 string, you would have a top string here that would be a D. So you basically drop this to D and then go D, G, D, G, B, D. The reason you get rid of the D on top is because it makes this string now your root at G. Leaving a 6 string setup, you'd have a D on top, which is not your root. It kind of gets confusing. So take it off, throw it away. All right, so I'll leave you with that for now. If you got any questions, shoot me an email, send me a comment. Hopefully this was just a quick and easy one. I'm not, like I said, I'm not specifically talking about any riffs. The main idea is moving it around, start getting those 2 fingers going, and experiment and come up with your own stuff. Open G, probably the next Open G I'll do will be some Zeppelin, possibly some slide. That sort of stuff.